What's up? It's pretty late. I'm just bored. Thought I'd make a little video. Had a lot on my mind lately. I've been thinking about energy a lot, like human energy. Our energy as humans, and basically how we use it day to day, and how it comes in handy. So the word energy, or really the idea of energy, has been becoming a lot more popular, right? Since the hippie '60s and shit, where it was only really a counterculture idea, to now where it's really you know spiraling out, and it's really been accepted in the community. Really, everyone kind of is down with the idea of energy. But when you think energy, you think what? You think crystal work. You think hippies, stuff like that. You think chi. You think monks lighting stuff on fire with their hands. You know, all mantras. Whatever. But what about for the average Joe? Where does energy come in for him on a day-to-day basis? Where does energy come in for us, right? Um, and that's what people don't really talk about. That's kind of the whole problem with this conscious movement. Really, is there's a lot of good information out. And it's not even that it's wrong. It's just that people are giving you such complex data or info. I mean, I should say, for people who aren't ready for that, are still at step one, and they're trying to teach you step seven. What's a good example? I've heard this term out here before. They're trying to teach you algebra before you know subtraction, right? So, like I said, they're talking about crystal work and all this stuff, but they're not even talking about the basics. They're talking about chi and all that, but they're not talking about everyday energy for people. So that's kind of what I've been thinking about. How does it come into play for the everyday? Um, so it comes in handy. I mean, not comes in handy. Energy is a big part of communication. Just the very first step, eye contact. You're immediately transferring energy to the person you're looking at. I don't know about you guys, but when I was little, I was actually kind of shy when I was a little kid. I was always taught make eye contact. Something that was kind of imprinted in me because I was really bad at it. Um, make eye contact when you're talking to that person. Stop looking at the ground. Make eye contact. And that's because when you talk to someone, you want to look at them in the eyes. You want to, A, know their energy, and B, let them know your energy. Let them know you're present, or else they might not even know you're talking to them. They might not take you seriously. Period. And it's as simple as that. And obviously, we all know that, but we don't really think about why it's like that. And and that's why people can be shy. Some people genuinely can feel that energy more. Especially little kids. That's why a lot more little kids are shy and kind of grow out of it, because it's not that growing out of shy is a bad thing, but you're kind of getting assimilated. You had all this sensitivity and all this energy and all this ability to feel energy at first, and it was almost overwhelming, and you kind of got used to it. So that's what that is. But yeah, as soon as you make eye contact, you're syncing brains. Like if you think I'm making it up, look it up. It's actually scientifically proven that when you look at someone and you're communicating with them, your brains are syncing, and they're obviously aware of each other in progress and in communication, and they're sparking. So that's what I was saying. Careful who you communicate with. It's real. It's kind of the same thing. And when you're more likely to have some long handshake with a homie before you some stranger. You might be in the same room. You give all your homies the good handshake. And the stranger, you might just give them a regular firm handshake or a dab. And it really comes down to energy. I mean, yeah, it's a formality too, and yeah, there's all these societal rules, but really, they fall in the structure of energy, and they kind of got you blind on that, but you're doing it anyway. So it's kind of just a matter of like, you know, being aware of it, really. And that's like another thing when it comes to like, let's say like the good looking girl or even the good looking guy, and they're walking down the hall and they're strutting how they do, think of school or something, the jocks, like the hot ass cheerleader girls, it's because they're getting this energy fed to them. They might not even be aware of it, but that's what's giving them that extra pep in their step, and that extra walk that ultimately will even attract more people to feed them energy, because that's just how it works. You know what I mean? It's a fucking matrix we're in, right? But it's really all about that. Every step you do and every kind of thing you think, you're feeding energy or you're absorbing energy or you're maintaining it. It's always telling. And I mean, that's where stage fright and stuff comes in, right? Do you really think it's just that, like, the idea? People can't, like, you hear about people, like actors and stuff, they have stage fright their whole life, like 30 years on stage, and they're still getting up before every performance or hyperventilating and shit. Like, you hear about that, like, that's super common. Like, I really doubt it's just the idea of all those people is really still scaring them. It's like, all right, after a few performances, you get it. It's these people are out there. I'm not knocking any actors or anything. Obviously, I get stage fright whenever I've been on stage for sure. So I'm not knocking you at all. But you know, I think it's just more than just being afraid. It's when you get out there. It's, well, first of all, you're expecting it. So there's that. You set your own reality that way. But it just it's so intense when you get out there. You feel it, and I think if you're a sensitive person, you're just feeling all that, and there's so much energy from the crowd that it's overwhelming. Obviously there's the fact that you realize that what you're doing, but I think it's deeper than that. And that makes a lot of sense to me. That same energy goes into relationships. I'm kind of just trying to think of everyday things that people can relate to that aren't Reiki, and fucking chi, and which is just the basic Japanese term. But I guess I'm really talking about energy work. Like relationships. Like, what's the difference between a good and a bad relationship? A good relationship is when two partners are feeding each other the energy, right? They're giving each other an equal amount, where they're lifting each other up, right? They're helping each other stay afloat. And a bad relationship it can be one of two ways. It can be an intentional or ill-willed bad, malefic, or whatever you want to call it, or one person is abusing the love of another person to raise themselves, ultimately keeping the other person down. And then there's the other one, which is up to debate, is still a bad relationship. But when the when the love of one person is so strong that it's they're putting all their time into the other person and it's keeping them down, or the other person can't give love back as much. It's all to do with energy. It's all about how you're. It's all about. It's like breathing. You gotta breathe in the same amount as you breathe out. You gotta keep it balanced and fun. Everyone who meditates knows that meditation is breathing. You can sit. You can sit in your little yoga position for an hour and a half. You know what I mean? But if you're not breathing right, you didn't do jack shit. So it's really like that. That's what life is breath. Obviously, I don't have to say a lot of these things. People are like, "Wow, you're just stating really obvious shit." But if you think about it in a certain context, it might be fresh for some people. It might be like, "Oh wow, I didn't look at it that way." A lot of you already know this, obviously. Um, yeah. So breathing is what it's all about. That exchange of in and out, and that's kind of how energy works. So a bad relationship is going to be one that's lacking the balance. You know, um, parents, like, well, not parents, like arguments. Okay, no matter who you're arguing with, when you're arguing, you're battling with energy. Obviously there's the verbal, you know, there's the verbal exchange going on, but that same exchange is going on energy-wise. You're exchanging energies like crazy. When you're spitting a point, and you may have got someone to either not be able to have this fast of a rebuttal or kind of almost agree with you even. You got their energy at the moment. Why do you walk away from an argument feeling like you won? If when you win, it's because you got that energy. You kind of got the energy up on that person that you're arguing with. you can really tell in certain arguments. I learned this early on in my life. You know what I mean? I used to have a hot temper, right? I used to have a bad temper. I'd get in arguments all the time with my family and stuff. You know, with random people. But you know, I would notice that it'd be a pattern of art. Like I'd argue in a pattern, right? Whoever would yell, you know, let's say they'd start yelling first. You know, obviously, I'm never the aggressor, right? But you know, it'll be like, oh, oh, oh. And you know, before it starts, you know, you might not be thinking that you're gonna yell back. I mean, you're fully capable of it, obviously, but you might not be thinking I'm about to yell back. But something will snap. At least in me, after the person yells, right? Then you somehow yell back. You go, ah, 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 you know, and then the person will be like, well, this, and that, and then so then you'll make you go, well, this, that, and you know, and maybe a little bit louder. Well, fuck that, blah 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 blah. And pretty soon I noticed it was just this exchange where as soon as they'd hit me with something, I'd hit them back with a verbal response. It was like a fight, right? Um, and there was got to a point where I was sick of it. You know, I wasn't really down with all these fights. I was getting in frequent fights with my parents, stuff like that. You know, that was the point where I tried to control it. So when there was a particular fight I had when a verbal fight when a relative would yell at me, I would just you know almost smile back. I'd say, alright, like, you know, I'm allowed to disagree on this, you know, I'm not gonna fight you. And, not only did it help me in the aspect of I didn't fight back to make myself look bad or, you know, put myself in a bad position, but the other person seemed to get more irritated. Not even more mad, yeah, more mad, but more irritated and, more frustrated, more uncomfortable. And after a while, I realized that it was because they weren't getting any energy back. They were shooting this energy at me, and it wasn't more so that I was absorbing it, but it was more importantly that they were losing it, and they weren't getting it back from me. I wasn't giving them an energy loss to equal it out. So that's real. That's how that works. You know, this might be obvious stuff for you, but that's how that shit is. Um, that same energy goes into negative thoughts. Anyone who's been depressed knows that until you're out of it, you don't realize how fucking easy it is to snap out of it. The second you come out of it, you're like, wow, that was a trip. It's literally a trip. It's a trip, man. So it's scientifically proven that negative thoughts affect your immune system. You know, that's this is when energy starts working negatively. Negative thoughts directly affect the immune system. So when you're sitting there thinking about something, let's say you're worried, it could be a self-conscious thing, something you're worried about in the future is gonna happen, something that happened in the past, whatever you're worrying about. If you're sitting there worrying about it and worrying about it, and you know you're worrying about it, if you're sitting there worrying about it for more than about a minute and a half, and you're sitting, you know, you catch yourself, either you snap out of it and you're like, damn, I was thinking about that for a minute, or you've been sitting there thinking, biting your nails, you know, you've sent a good amount of energy towards that thought. So no matter, and when it comes to your brain and your spirit or whatever, and your energy, more importantly, it doesn't matter if you're thinking that you don't like this thing. Let's say you're scared, you're paranoid about something. Let's say you're scared of, let's say you're a hypochondriac and you're scared of getting some sort of disease or something. You know, you can sit there and think, I don't want this, all you want. But your energy doesn't see a difference between I don't want and I want. It only knows what you're giving energy to. So you're thinking about that thing you don't want, and you may not want it. Obviously, no one wants that, but you may. I'm not saying this is how. I'm not saying this will happen every time. You know, but you can put so much energy into something that you may shift it to happen more so than it would have. You know. Um, so that's when it really comes into play, and it's really easy to snap out of once you realize what you're doing. Once you realize that you've been thinking about something for more than a little bit, and you really can understand that you're sending energy to it, you can start changing it. And everyone says this, but it's true as fuck. It's things change. You change the way you think, your energy changes, and you can shift. You can shift your outcomes. I'm not a full believer in you change your reality. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. I believe you change your reality. I believe you can create your own reality, but it's 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 not as easy as they say. It's like that thing where they're teaching you algebra before they teach you subtraction. There's a lot you have to do. There's a lot of simple things you have to do before you can think your reality into a different, outcome. But there's definitely truth behind that. So it's definitely important to stay stimulating your mind positively, as opposed to thinking about what you don't want or what you regret or any of that. Because ultimately, we're just as much energy as we are matter, and that's another thing that spirituality guys kind of mislead you on is spirit is important, but matter is just as important. Um, we are actually in the matter realm, right? But we're also in the spirit realm. It's a 50-50 though. There's not one that's more important than others. The spirit realm is not more important right now in where we are than the matter realm. It's an equality, and I mean, life is about balance, and they'll say that, but then they won't exactly teach that in every aspect. But you gotta remember that. Um, yeah, that's about it. That was my little rant about energy. Let me know what you guys thought. I've never really uploaded any videos, so hope it wasn't too long or anything. I'm just kind of bored chilling. So, yep. One love.